from on the IMF World Bank meetings and the Ukraine economy and everything around the world. We're joined by Nicholas Economides, professor of economics at the School of Business, NYU. Nicholas, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Phil.
This Ukraine situation, I don't know if you heard just now, but they're asking for roughly 55 billion, which is, I guess, their annual monthly budget is 3 to 4 billion, so that would get them through basically 1 year. This financial support, is the country there not generating any type of, I guess, tax revenue at this point?
Well, I think that first of all, there are a lot of people who left their jobs and are soldiers. Then there are their relatives who went abroad. So a lot of businesses, practically speaking, don't operate anymore. Additionally, there's a significant part of the country that is controlled by the Russians, maybe 20%, maybe 25%, maybe more. But in any case, they have lost a significant part of their country for now. So that creates a huge amount of difficulty for Ukraine. But I would say the idea of reconstruction is way premature. I think right now we need to focus on ending the conflict, on ending the war, find a solution that is reasonable and acceptable to all sides. Of course, nobody's going to be happy, but at least there would be a temporary stoppage of hostilities, hopefully a final stoppage of hostilities, so that we can go to the next step and we can seriously talk about reconstruction. Right now, reconstruction in the middle of the war doesn't make that much sense.
But the country still has to operate. So I'm just roughly, these are numbers I have. The U.S. has committed $13.5 billion. The IMF and World Bank has sent Ukraine $35 billion already, and they're asking for another 55. But my understanding is this money is primarily used to keep the government functioning on a month-to-month basis, right, with or without the conflict going on.
Yeah. Well, I think that they need, and in the last few months, the last 6 months, the United States has contributed practically all the money. Not the European countries, not anybody else, just the United States. And now we have other international bodies, IMF, World Bank, putting in some money. That would be necessary, but I think that besides the money, it's very, very, very important for especially the American administration to think of the end game, and other powers around the world to think seriously about the end game of this war. Because that war, the way it's going, it can create a nuclear disaster. So it's very, very important to think of the strategies through to the very end, not just where we are now, but where we're going to be 6 months from now.
Some people argue, Nicholas, that Europe, you look at the big countries in Europe, whether it's Germany, Poland, France, Spain, and so on, that they need to take a bigger role, more of a leadership type role. I mean, they're obviously there. They're going to be most impacted. They are impacted by what's happening in their economies. And some experts are asking them to take more of a lead role, not only in stopping the conflict, but also funding what recovery efforts are going to be needed afterwards.
Right. Well, Europe can play a bigger role in terms of talking, but I think that ultimately, if there is going to be a deal that will end the conflict, it will have to be between the United States and Russia. So, the Europeans do not have enough power, both military and economic, to be able to sign the deal. So the U.S. has to be involved, and has to be much more involved, I think, than it is right now.
The inflation issue that we have been covering here, obviously each country has a little bit of a different issue in Europe, but on the balance, it is going to be a problem, I think, going into 2023. How are these countries going to deal with it post-winter?
It's very hard to predict how bad the winter is going to be and how bad the winter months might be in Northern Europe. But right now, the expectation is that large countries in Western Europe, like Germany, are going to have a recession in 2023. And that is problematic, and that can be a shock to the political system of those countries. So it's a very big uncertainty, and I just hope that the war will not last into 2023. I hope that by the end of this year, in the next 2 months, there will be some rational thinking and a way to end the war.
Everyone that I've spoken to is hoping that this ends soon. The meetings are happening right now in Washington. Zelensky spoke to the group earlier today virtually and made this request. What do you think the response or responsibility should be of the World Bank and the IMF be to helping Ukraine in this situation?
Well, they can help financially to alleviate the pain of the war, but I think that world leaders should go away from maximalist positions. That is, I think the United States has put in this position, well, we have to have regime change in Russia. I mean, that might not work. Even the people in the State Department might see this by now. The Russians, at the same time, they think that they have to conquer more of Ukraine. Well, these things are not going to work out. And there is a lot of collateral damage that is happening in the world economy, that is happening right now. So it's very, very important for people to go away from the maximalist positions and try to find some common ground, to find some solution, which of course will not be satisfactory to anybody, but it will be an end to killing, an end to hostilities, and the possibility to start seriously thinking about reconstruction of Ukraine.
Right. We've essentially got the global economy held hostage over what's happening in Europe. Professor, always good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.